So welcome to the next in our series of public lectures in our science and cooking class. We're back in our cozy little room, so we have to sit on the side and everything. As always, I'd like to begin by thanking the various people who really helped a lot in putting this whole course together. Our sponsors in particular, we're going to hear from Jose Andres, but his Think Food group helped us both financially and intellectually, as did Alicia Foundation. And we really wouldn't be able to put the course on without their intellectual help as well as the financial help. This is a science course, and with all science courses, there are laboratories. And if you have followed the viral YouTube announcements about this course, one of the great things about the laboratories in this course is that you can eat them. And so we're really honored that we have representatives from Whole Foods here, and they've supplied all of the laboratory supplies which we eat. And really, this is an important and integral part of the course. No science course, there cannot be a science course without a laboratory, and what better way to have a laboratory than to eat your laboratory? The Office of Faculty Development and Diversity has helped us. Cole Palmer supplied most of the instruments for the lab so we can do real experiments. Le Creuset has helped us financially, and we heard a couple of weeks ago or last week that there will be a raffle for some of the pots for attendees here. Whoops. And Mars Chocolate and Asada have both been very helpful. So again, I thank them all. I'd also like to acknowledge Fawaz Habal from SEAS, and the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences has also been really instrumental in allowing us to put this course together. And so we're very pleased that Fawaz could come. We're changing the phase of the way we do things slightly. We began last week where we talked about the emulsions last week. So I'm not going to talk about emulsions as the introductory part of this class, but I wanted to show you one of the creations of the recipe of the week made in our lab before it was eaten. And this is not a dessert, nevertheless it's so beautiful that I really think we have to clap. So this week we're going to talk, we originally said gelation, but spherification is really a gelation process that's become so integral to what we've discussed in the class that we've changed the title of this class to gelation and spherification. And I think Jose is going to show us examples of both. So what I'm going to do is very, very briefly introduce you to some of the science behind gelation, as we will discover with the wonderful recipes of Jose. I will not take very much time so we can get immediately to Jose. And this is really what a lot of the inspiration of this class is about. It's an example of spherification. It's taking something that truly began as a liquid and making it into a solid, and you make it into a solid by essentially putting a layer of gel on the outside. And so this is the theme of the week. Gelation is central to cooking. There are many, many instances where we make gels. They have a variety of different properties. They're mainly a control of the texture, making something that is normally liquid, make it into a solid. And we will see some beautiful examples of being able to make completely new dishes because you can gel things. And so gelation is a phase transition. We've talked about phase transitions many times. It occurs because you form crosslinks of a network inside of a fluid. It's a network of polymer that's inside of a fluid. And in order to form this network, you need to have a critical density of crosslinks. And in fact, I'm going to show you that one way of thinking about it is you're really changing the time scale of the relaxation of the network. You go from something that relaxes, remember we said things that relax, flow, they're like a fluid, into something that doesn't relax, that's a gel, that's a solid. So you're making something that's fluid-like into a solid. And the crosslinks can form from a variety of different processes. You'll see many examples in the wonderful recipes that Jose will tell us about. And in spherification, there is, in some way, you form a gel typically using alginate, and the gelling agent in that case is calcium ions. They're doubly valent ions, and they diffuse into the gel. So our two equations are shown here, and here they are. What do we do when we clap, when we have equations? There are two equations. We need to clap extra loudly. Now, how many, be honest, many of you have come the second or third or many times. How many of you remember seeing these equations before? Put your hands up. Well, some of you, not that many. You do? Okay, but you're a TF. You're cheating. You better remember. Okay, we've shown these equations before, but we're going to show them again. We're going to show them again because they're really important. And in fact, throughout the rest of the course, we will almost always, not always, but almost always come back to some of the equations that we've used before and show that we can use them in different ways to describe new physics, but the equations themselves are the same. Okay, so what is gelation? Well, everybody knows this kind of gelation. It's changing something that starts out first as a powder, you mix it into water, it's water clearly, but ultimately it forms a solid. And it forms a solid when there is some critical concentration of something. So this is a phase diagram. Something is being varied to cause the formation of a solid network. Similarly, for spherification, this is pea juice that's been spherified to make a gel. Something at some point is causing this to change from a fluid-like structure to a solid structure. And what is that? It's the density of crosslinks. We are forming a network, and inside that network, we're forming permanent crosslinks that form ultimately a solid. Remember, a gel, the kinds of gels that we're discussing are primarily fluid. They're primarily water, and there's just a small fraction of polymer, a polymer network inside that's leading to the solid-like behavior. Here's an example. Here's a schematic showing these polymer network, these strands of polymer, and the way that we actually create the solid-like behavior is to form a chemical or permanent bond at some point that joins two strands together permanently. In the absence of the bond, the strands can flow through one another, and they're really a very small fraction of strands, so they can flow, and they can be quite watery. It relaxes. It behaves just like a fluid. It flows like a fluid. When you form these bonds, the strands can no longer flow. They trap the water in place, and they form a solid-like structure. And it's the formation of these permanent bonds, these crosslinks, that provide the solid-like behavior, and it's the density of these crosslinks that lead to the solid behavior. And the elasticity then is given, again, we've talked about this before, the elasticity is always an energy density, so it's just thermal energy divided by the volume of one of these crosslinks, the average length between the crosslinks cubed. That's the volume of a crosslink. So it's just the density of these crosslinks times kT. That gives you the elasticity of the gel. So we can see immediately that if we want to make a more rigid, a more elastic gel, we have to increase the density, decrease the length between the crosslinks. And so how do we understand spherification? This, in the end, is how this diffusion equation comes into it. We understand spherification because what we do, the simplest version of spherification is to take an alginate, an ungelled alginate, put it inside the fluid, and then put the whole thing into a solution of calcium chloride. So alginates are polysaccharides. They're charged polymers. They're polyelectrolytes. So they have a charge. The charge tends to keep them spread out, and they don't interact. But if we add ions, for example, if we were to add sodium chloride, Sodium chloride would help screen out some of the charges. You can see schematically some of the positive charges from the sodium would interact with the negative ions. It would screen the charges. You'd get less charges, but you won't get a network. But the interesting thing is that if you add calcium, which is doubly charged, you do tend to get a network. And the simplest way of understanding is that you can get some kind of bridging, because you can have two charges, so it can bring one charge from each side of the network together. This is not the really most formal way, but this is a very good way of understanding the network. So you add calcium ions and you solidify the network. You make it into a solid. And so where does diffusion come? Well, diffusion comes, what you do is you literally put this sphere with the alginate inside a solution of calcium chloride, and the calcium diffuses in. How far it diffuses in tells you how much the actually is gelled and how large the gel network is. And the equation that tells you how far it diffuses in is shown here. We've seen this equation before, but before we were talking about diffusion of heat. Now we're talking about diffusion of ions, but it's exactly the same physics and it's exactly the same equation. And this tells us then the thickness of the shell. It tells us also if we want to make the shell twice as thick or a quarter as thick, we know how to do that. We know how much time to wait. It's just the diffusion of the calcium ions. And we will look at this when in our lab. We'll actually do a laboratory where we will indeed spherify things, we will indeed eat them, but we will also measure the diffusion constant of calcium by measuring the growth of the thickness of the shell as a function of time. Okay, with that, let me stop and turn it over to Jose Andres. He's taught here before, so we know how exciting it is, and this is, I think, our first public lecture, so welcome to us.
Thank you. So that's it? You're not going to explain me the formula?
I will, but then you'll have to use it and I have to solve it.
You imagine the day that the menus will not have any wording, but they'll only have formulas? And you will say, I actually don't like P. I say, what? It's not a sphere anymore? It's a cube? Anyway, guys, actually, technically, this is my second lecture. I was with my good friend, mentor, and boy, Ferran Adrian, the first one. And I was talking with him half hour ago, and I think I want to send him a big round of applause because I believe without him, this will never, ever happen. So big round of applause to Ferran. So anyway, he was very excited and asking me many, many questions, as always. And I didn't have enough time, so I told him my batteries were running low. And here we are talking today about gelation, about gels. And I think before we get into gels, how we are able to get a liquid. I mean, a liquid. A liquid that is only good to take a shower, to drink, a few other things. But that thanks to gelation and thanks to different ingredients that they've been showing up through history, we are able almost to control water. It's very fascinating. My wife, who is very Catholic, she got very upset with me when I was telling her maybe Jesus walked over water with agar-agar kind of emulsion. And I said, probably Jesus was the man that knew the most about gelatins in the history, but didn't make it into the Bible. I had to go to the priest on Sunday to, if I was Jewish, I wouldn't have to do it. But I'm Catholic, I had to go to ask for forgiveness. So because I was not there 20 centuries ago, and we don't know really if he walked over water or he walked over some kind of a gel form, I think before we do a few recipes for us to try to understand what these brain geniuses here at Harvard are able to come up with. Luckily for you, I'm not here to tell you about formulas. I'm here to tell you about cooking. And of cooking, I know a little bit, even if my three daughters more than often complain about how bad is the food I do for them. Daddy, this was not as good as the other day. I'm like, all right. So I do believe it's very important to always look into history to understand how we are. Because we have a tendency to think, because as human race, we are so egocentric that we believe the only thing that really counts is what happens today, because it's when we live the today. And we have a tendency really to, even if we study history, we forget about history. Because if we will study history, we'll never be ever wars. Because every single war has happened before over the last 3,000 years, and they keep happening. So obviously we have no understanding of the past. That's a matter if we study history, and we feel we know. So I think before we go, let's go very quick. Very quick. I'm not going to show you the whole thing, but few moments in history. Do we have the PowerPoint is here? So I think it's very important that we go very quick and we think, okay? And before going back 8,000 years ago in time, take a look at this for a second. And I hope you never had to be in a hospital with something like this, which very much it's a gelatin, believe it or not, gelatin-based protein content, sometimes called plasma, which technically is like a blood replacement. When we saw this, I think it's important, use this food for thought. We're going to be talking about cooking, and we're going to have a lot of fun, hopefully, for the next, how much time we have? 1 hour? Okay, when you want to leave, raise your hand, okay? Montessori. But it's very important to understand the meaning of this. Because today, and probably I will get more than one question at the end, we're going to be talking about science and cooking, and seems like, ooh, these Harry Potter-like chefs, yeah, right? But I want to make the point, just to start, about the importance, in this case, a gel-like thing that is able to save human lives by being able to kind of support our blood in times of emergency. So if something like this is almost able to maintain life in this little thing called us, our bodies, humans, men, women, imagine how important this is. So I do believe from now on, when we put a piece of Jell-O in our mouth, we will think about it for a second, at least for one more second than what we are used to. Because I think we have a tendency to go through life without ever thinking for that second that can change dramatically our understanding of life. So use food for thought. This already contains a gel-like base protein that helps us save many lives. But we have to go very quick, back to the almost like the Egyptians. It's very funny because, man, everything began with them. I wish I was there. I think actually I was, but I don't remember. But man, they made bread, they made beer happen. Probably they made some of the first foie gras without having to have the lobby that says no more poor dogs, you know, take a look what we're doing. But these guys were amazing. When we read, you know, when we see the science fiction movies and always is something going on around the pyramids, maybe it's true. Maybe they were in contact with another, planet, another civilization, many thousands of years light from here, because these guys made everything. And I want to show you these because already were references that they were able to get bones, get the skins, get animals, boil them, and the water that they will get when it will get colder will become like a glue, a big glue. That was, ladies and gentlemen, almost 8,000 years ago. So it's nothing new. We've been eating Jell-O only for a century and a half. But these guys already were using it not to eat, but just to build. They will use it as a glue. I think it's food for thought. Again, very, very, very important. Any Irish here? Man, Irish is the other kind of people that seem they did everything, right? They look Spaniards. No, it's true. I mean, imagine about it. In Ireland was this beautiful little town called Carrigan. And in the 1600s, in the 1400s, sorry. We always hear about the stories of Ireland, and famine came and potatoes kind of saved them for starvation. Well, way before the potatoes came from South America all the way to Europe and saved many Europeans for a long time, these guys in the town of Carrigan began eating those seaweed as a way to precisely fight famine. I'm mentioning the word Carrigan because it's a city that we're going to be talking a little bit later when we talk about two seaweeds, two products that come out of seaweed, Iota and Kappa, that they are called carrageenates, and comes from the town of Carrigan. So it's only to start to put in perspective of these names because you're going to be listening more about it. And those are some of the carrageens you see over here. I have them written there. They are from the family of the red seaweed, and there are many names. Chondrus, Eucuma, Gigartina, Gelidium, Gracilaria. Those are different seaweed names that probably you can go to bed tonight without meeting them. I don't think your life is going to change. But it's okay to know that things have other names more than gelatin, and that's it. And that's what we are hopefully going to try to achieve today. And this is a bigger world than gelatins themselves. This is can you see, do you think that this guy liked to eat or no? This was Henry VIII. I never had the pleasure of meeting him, but I wouldn't mind because it seems his banquets were quite something. And I'm only mentioning him because they will have these amazing dinners that they will make these calf feet kind of jellies that they will serve in many different ways. To see already that this happened around 1491 to 1547. So late 15th century, early 16th century, where already gelatin dishes were being served in royal palaces across Europe. I'm putting you this photo because that's an important moment. 1658. This was the first recorded time we have of the use of agar, that probably by now is a word that you recognize because agar, you can see it in many places. You find agar in Whole Foods more often than not, if I'm not wrong. It's 100%, right? Organic and ecologic. And I've seen it. I've seen it in the one I go in Washington, D.C., in Wisconsin. Very important. 1658, the first known use that we found in Japan, even they were using it way before, is the first time that we found a recorded kind of writing about the usage of agar. I mean, almost 4 centuries ago. I told you we are not going to be talking about everyone because, believe me, it will be too much. You know, this photo machine you see here is what was called the daguerreotype. Daguerreotype. That was the first photo machine. But this was a very costly and consuming a way to make photos. This was invented, like so many things on that time, by a Frenchman. I wish he was from Spain, but he was French. He lived between late 18th century, early 19th century. And again, he is a man that with this machine create photography itself, but this made it unbelievably costly because the system they were creating to achieve those photos, those images was almost impossible. I'm only mentioning this because many years later, in 1880, is when, for a second, photography became cheaper because they discovered a way to use a gelatin-based light film to start capturing the images. And not only capturing the images, but then making copies of those images. So gelatin, people of America, gave us great photography until obviously now we don't even know what film is anymore. I was talking to my daughter about film and she was looking at me like, come on, daddy, come on. USB, I'm like, okay. So important moment, guys. France, again, between 1803 and 1818. We're talking about Napoleon Bonaparte, big moment in history. The great thing about Napoleon Bonaparte is that he was, or thanks to him, was the creation of many things. The English had a huge blockade on the French. Sugar that was coming from the West Indies couldn't make it to France. And hey, good food without good sugar is no good food. So thanks to Napoleon and his people, they invented sugar out of sugar beets, not out of sugar cane. Huge contribution to humankind, I guess. At least the dentists are very happy. Not only that, thanks to Napoleon Bonaparte and a guy called Appert, I think I mentioned him a few classes ago, a man called Nicolas Appert discovered canning. Canning? 1810. The French also, a lot of trouble. Napoleon had to find a way to feed the troops, especially going into the big campaign in Russia. They didn't know how. And this guy invented canning. Napoleon Bonaparte was, again, big contributor on achieving this. Here, somehow, the French, at the same time, some of the same thinkers, and thanks to this hospital I'm showing you. This is the military hospital in Paris. And this man, a man called Anton Alexis Cadet, kind of began feeding the troops, all the people going to the hospital, a gelatin, as they were short on food, they were in war, and they were able to come up with this gelatin-like soup full of protein that was very good in a moment of famine to be feeding something to all the people in the hospital. So a great moment on how gelatin saved many lives for many, many years. Important to understand. Another important moment. Man, did you every time I put those in my mouth, I don't know what I do, but I try to experience and I wait until it melts. And so the powder goes into my tongue and then ugh. Okay, guys, this was big because in 1833, another French, a pharmacist called Mothes, M-O-T-H-E-S, kind of invented this. He was able to patent these capsules made out of gelatin. I mean, 1833. Big, long time. We're going to keep going quick. Important moment, agar-agar. Agar-agar arrives to Europe, and I'm not trying to tell the story through Europe, but this is where I grew up, so I cannot tell you through other part. But this arrived to Europe in 1859. Nothing happened in Europe, nothing changed, but agar-agar came from Asia all the way to Europe for first time in this year. This was a big important moment. This was a German scientist that in 1870, his name was Carl von Beit. He was the one that actually was able to do all the right measurements. So he was the one that was able to find protein itself. And this was huge because the French, as you saw, they were feeding people because they knew there was a great food supply. They will give the gelatin to people and people will feel like, wow, they had food. But they didn't really know why. This was the guy that proved that gelatin was protein-based 100%. So important guy because he very much created what is modern nutritionism today. Okay, important guy in this world. I want to go all the way back to move already into yellow. This was very interesting because in 1895, was a man called Pearl Waite. Pearl, like an oyster pearl, Pearl Waite. And he was a cough syrup manufacturer, okay? And what he did was he kind of came up with a patent for a gelatin, right? He patented gelatin. But at the end, what happens is that he sold to a man called Peter Cooper. And Peter Cooper transformed that kind of gelatin that was more like a medicine, the same way as Coke at the beginning began like a medicine, believe it or not. And he began commercializing kind of a gelatin product. The wife of this guy, of Peter Cooper, a woman called Mary David, she is the one that kind of named it Jell-O. But they were unbelievably unsuccessful in selling their product. And then you had to move, look at 10 cents a package, they're beautiful. And then was this man, a guy called Frank Woodward. Frank Woodward, they really bought the patent to bought the brand for $450, and he transformed that $450 investment in very few years in over $1 million, almost overnight. He was very close to give up. He was about to sell it, but something called marketing happened in the biggest way possible. I mean, they invested in marketing, I guess. I don't know if that's good or bad. Today, probably they will call you pedophile or something. But that was really the important moment. Many things happened. Marshmallows, thanks to gelatin. Ice cream, thanks to gelatin. That was an important moment. The discovery of gelatin gum. Everything I've been telling you now, gelatins, they came from animal collagen, right? From the bones, for the white part, for all the cow's feet, all the bones, all the skins. Then we talk about seaweed. So we are talking about the gelatin that comes from animal. We are talking about another one that comes from the seaweed vegetable plant world. And here we have one that comes from the bacteria world. And this bacteria is called, and I'm terrible pronouncing it, Pseudomonas eludea. This bacteria just created out of, a new ingredient that we began calling gelatin, which another kind of gel, but a new one, a one that didn't came anymore from animals or from plants or from seaweeds, but that came from a bacteria itself. And here we arrive almost to 1998. And what you see over here is a creation of Ferran Adria and his team. And this is a breakthrough in the avant-garde movement, because until then, the only thing we barely used was gelatins and little bit agar-agar. When agar-agar was being eaten in Asia for years and centuries, in Europe, in America, we were not really using it. And not using it at all in the avant-garde movement. Gelatin, yes. How many people use gelatin to cook at home? Great. How many people ever use agar-agar to cook at home? Wow. Good, few of you, but it's impressive. So this was important because until then, gelatins, we talked that was the power to transform a liquid into a solid-like element with the characteristics of a solid element. The amazing thing about gelatins is that traditionally, they will be always cold, right? Did you ever eat hot Jell-O? Because if you will melt it, if you will heat it, it will melt. This gelatin was hot gelatin. And I don't need you now to say, wow. But if you do it, it will help me to move next. Because we cannot forget that moment where we get like, wow. Because things happen in front of us every day. But I told you about this 1 second that we never think about anything. What happened in Spain, what happened in Rosas, what happened in El Bulli, what happened in the reign of Ferran in this case, and that's what we, chefs today, we try to apply, is that moment that you think. If you eat this without thinking, Well, it's a hot gelatin, and probably you will complain. You will call your friends or you will tweet, man, I cannot believe it. They served me a hot gelatin. I want my gelatin cold. You understand what I mean? Life is like that. Sometimes we don't think about it. So this moment was great because it was first time in the history that consciously we were using in avant-garde cooking hot gelatins, transforming totally the texture of what we were eating. And almost to having like a orgasm of flavor in our palate, in our mouth. So, that was not the first one ever. The first one was, you're good, I need to hire you. Guys, the first one was apples and cheese. Who likes apples and cheese? Everyone does. So the first hot gelatin was a gelatin of apple juice, agar-agar, hot, with a spuma, a foam of cheese. Wow. Hungry? So, 1998, after agar-agar, not only cold but hot, we began saying, what other gelatins are out there? What other gels are out there that can help us transform water into something else? And that's when the fascinating world of gelatins expanded overnight. And again, we gave him a round of applause, but very much, now we have many chefs using many of those like crazy and coming up with new things every day. But very much none of that will ever happen if it didn't begin happening in that little town in North Spain in the team of El Bulli under Ferran. So we're going to start, Russell, can you help me here? Because then we'll move a lot quicker. Great. So we're going to go, we talk about gelatin, right? And we know that gelatin is animal-based. This is the way it is. It's out of collagen and has this amazing gelling agent that is fascinating because everyone knows how to use it by now. Kids know how to use it, mothers, people that never cooked before. And in the worst scenario, you can go to the shop and buy a jelly that is already made. Brilliant. Let me show you one recipe that we use gelatin, in this case, to help us create a sauce. And to start showing you the different the rainbow of opportunities that gels gives us. Okay? We go. Some sound. People are getting sleepy. Good. Spanish clementines. We blanch them. Hot water, we put them in cold water. It's good to blanch citrus, takes away some of that bitterness, this astringency in the skin. They still are like raw. We put them in a plastic bag. We put syrup, 50% sugar, 50% water. Everyone can do that. And then we put them in the vacuum machine. We take out the air and we put it into water bath, 90 Celsius degrees during 2.5 hours. At the end, take a look. It looks like fresh, but the skins are caramelized by now. And we're gonna be cleaning the inside. We're gonna be taking all the shells, all the skins, all the membranes inside the clementines. And this is not a commercial about Spain, but those clementines from Spain that when they arrive in November, December, they are to die for. So here is clean. And what we have is the clementine skin, very sweet, very elegant, very sexy. So sexy that we go and we use it. Like, I need you. So we go and we use the cooked one, but then we make fresh juice of the clementine, and we don't boil it. We put it in a dehydrator during 2 hours at 65 degrees to evaporate part of the water, but retaining the characteristics of the vitamin C and the clementine juice itself. Here, gelatin comes into play. We melt it. We add a little bit of xanthan gum. It's another product that comes out of a bacteria. We add a little bit more of the syrup. And what we did there with the xanthan gum and the gelatin and the clementine juice was to make a sauce that you're gonna see in 40 seconds what happens. Here what we are cooking is the sugar up to 103 Celsius degrees, and we are gonna caramelize the pumpkin seeds. And we are gonna caramelize them twice to make sure that we achieve maximum crispiness, crunchiness. We put some salt. So we made a clementine sorbet. I don't want to waste your time with a clementine sorbet. And we stuffed the skins, the zest of the clementine. Here is the sauce using the gelatin and the xanthan gum of the clementine. This is pumpkin seed oil. We put the caramelized pumpkin seeds. We put the basil, baby basil. We put some rosemary flowers. We slice a segment of the skin, caramelized with the clementine sorbet. And ladies and gentlemen, with a touch of orange zest, rosemary flower, here we have clementines and pumpkin seed oil. Strawberry. Okay. One more with gelatin. One more with gelatin using the animal base. Everyone knows how to use. You like strawberries? We are not in season, I know, but this is a video, so forgive me. So, let's go with the strawberry. A strawberry. Just in case you didn't understand me. So, okay, I think I'm gonna stop it. What you're gonna see here is something very important. At the very beginning, it's a strawberry, but we didn't see any strawberry yet. Don't worry, patience. They're coming. What you're gonna see is one technique that, thanks to gelatin, has gave chefs the opportunity to make mousse, a mousse-like product, without the use of heavy cream or fat. And why is this amazing? If we go to some of the popular coffee places in the world, you know, and you order your mocha with, you know, whipped cream. It comes with whipped cream anyway. You'll see that machine, right? The whipped cream canister, the whipped cream bottle that uses N2O, nitro oxide. So we're able to put heavy cream, put the nitro oxide, and then we shake, we turn down, we press, and we have whipped cream. Great. I don't have to break my arm anymore again in my life. This is powerful. But let's say you're making a strawberry mousse. And let's say you put a traditional strawberry mousse. Will be 50% strawberries, right? Yes? Will be 40% cream? Yes? 10% sugar? You'll blend everything. You'll put it in the traditional, you will whip the whipped cream. You'll mix some gelatin with the strawberry. You'll wait until the strawberry gets kind of jelly. And then you'll start mixing slowly the whipped cream with the strawberry. And at the end, you'll let it rest, and you will have a strawberry mousse. Yummy, right? But that has a fundamental problem. That the mousse is only 50% strawberry. You may say, I like heavy cream. All right, so that's your problem. But imagine for a second, if a 50% strawberry mousse is delicious, imagine 100% strawberry mousse. Did you ask the strawberry if she wants to be mixed with the fat? You didn't, right? But we do it. Why? What you're about to see gives you the power of make 100% strawberry mousse without ever using fats anymore. Only with the power of gelatins. Because gelatins are almost the same as fat in whipped cream. It gives you the opportunity to retain the air that comes inside the liquid. By retaining a lot of air, you're able to make these amazing mousses. So I told you that, but now forget about what I told you. Because this strawberry mousse has some heavy cream. Only because we're going to be using liquid nitrogen. And with liquid nitrogen, a strawberry doesn't behave very well. They need the heavy cream. But important what I told you, this is a new way, what you're going to see, of making 100% pure mousses of liquids that are not fats. Breakthrough in civilization. No, this is not to laugh, it's serious. So here we had the heavy cream. Here we put a little bit of syrup. Here we have gelatin. The gelatin, you always need to rehydrate it first. It's very stiff. They need like a bath to lose down the gelatin. It's a very stiff person. So you always put it in water first. And so we're gonna put the gelatin, the syrup with the cream, and then we're gonna add this beautiful strawberry puree. All right? You mix the whole thing. You're gonna strain to make sure there's no gelatin lumps anywhere. Pure, beautiful, tasty, sweet, delicious. And we put it in the canister. And then we put the nitric oxide. We make sure that gets to the right temperature. And take a look what we do. This, what you see there, is a strawberry powder. Dry strawberries, okay? That we make like a flour of dry strawberries. And we make the mousse of strawberries. We cover it with more of the powder of dry strawberries. And we're going to introduce this in the liquid nitrogen. Only for a few seconds. What's happening right now? The outside is frozen. The inside is creamy. When we cut through, the inside is pure creaminess. The outside is pure hard shell. Ladies and gentlemen, a strawberry. Okay, get ready for the coconut. So, who chose the music? Man, I cannot do everything. So, we did clementine. They're about to be in season. We did the strawberry. Season is away. But lately, and because I've been receiving this question a lot lately, especially here, that's why we are at Harvard. Everyone questions and asks about everything. And it's good to look like you don't even know how to speak English to get away from the answer. What do you say, sorry? I don't understand your accent. We're talking about science, we're talking about cooking. And lately it's a lot this talk about purity of ingredients, right? If the strawberries I'm gonna be serving in the middle of the summer are very, very good, really good, and I'm using at the end of after my talk, after my BS about not putting cream in the strawberries, I go and I put cream in my mix. And I explain you why. If the strawberries are so good and the cream is so good, why I don't go and I whip cream and I put them on top of the strawberries and that's it, and I give it to you. And why we're going through all this process. Very often is people that will use that as almost like an attack, right? Like to say, wow, you Harry Potters of the world. We go, Man, Harry Potter is even a good guy, you know? I mean, with Voldemort and the others that are the bad ones. So what I'm trying to say with that, I think it's a good moment to think about avant-garde cooking, what it means to you. If you want me to go home to my restaurant and serve you the bowl of strawberries with the whipped cream and give you 3 clementines in a plate and you peel them yourself, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that. Why? Because you can do that. We are here, I believe, to push the envelope a little bit. Hold on, if you come to my restaurant, you eat this, and as you put it in your mouth, you are like, then I have a problem. But I know you're going to eat it, and you're going to say, wow. So, I know we're talking about gelation and gels, but me, I want to be talking about the other things that run everything. And I do believe it's very important that we support the farmers, that we support seasonal, but I don't think one thing is in war with the other at all. Because if you're going to tell me, I don't want more science in my eating, in my world, it's like, I'll tell you, okay, that's good, great. You know, do you like ice in your water? No more ice in your water. Do you like ice creams in the summer? No more ice creams for you. You like local? Why are you with a Nike made in South Korea? What I'm only trying to be is, let's try to be more pragmatic. Not over here, not over there, but a little bit in the middle. Because it's good in everything. And this is not doing any bad. I think this is really making all of us today united here when we can be doing something else, like having cocktails in a great bar. We're here exchanging a time together. Why? It's because it's a real interest in food, and not purely in a Food Network way of, but in a pure, well, I'm not the type, as you see. I mean, look at me. I mean. But the true sense that food is so much more than something cool. That food is really something that is uniting all of us, that is giving a sense of who we are. And it's only food for thought. I made the strawberries, I made clementines. When you go home, only think about local, it's all good. But this kind of cooking we're doing is very good too. Because we are not using anything that is strange or weird, or that has not been used before for sometimes centuries. Yes? You with me? Let's go. So, we are gonna do a recipe. Who likes coconut? Man, I don't have enough for everyone. So, we're talking gelation. We've done 2 recipes with gelatin. We're gonna make a dish with coconut that is a steam bun. Who likes Asian cooking? Who ate the steam buns that they serve you, sometimes with a Peking duck? Oh my God, they're good. They are delicious. We're gonna make one, but using an ingredient which is called methicellulose, that comes very much from the cell walls of many plants. You know, did you ever have a sugar cane? If you put the sugar cane in your mouth and you are there, and at the end is something there, somewhere in there, there is methicellulose probably. Comes out of the cell walls. Very, very, very good product, great product. So it was a company called Kelco that was the first company ever to manufacture this product. And what you're gonna see is a bread that has no flour, but has a bread-like texture, very delicate. And thanks to the methicellulose and its gel properties, we're gonna be able to make a gel that again is warm. Take a look, warm gels, warm gelatins, achieving an amazing sensation in the mouth and only using 1 or 2 or 3 ingredients. coconut steam band. Methicellulose and water, okay? It's only 3% of methicellulose and water. We have to bring it to boil to make sure that the methicellulose incorporates in the water. And here we have used a methicellulose base. You see the gel-like consistency that achieves? Now take a look what we do. We get coconut, we place in water, and we're gonna use a juicer, and we get fresh coconut water. And we're gonna mix the coconut water, the coconut milk, with the methyl cellulose mix, but very little quantity. We're gonna add some sugar. We're gonna blend the whole thing. We add very little of the xanthan gum that also gives us a good body to liquid. And we're gonna introduce that into, again, the canister. Take a look at what we do. We are creating like a band, like a steam band. We're gonna put it 90 seconds in the steam, and when we cut through, already we achieve a bread-like texture thanks to the methicellulose. So here you have, we steam it. Here we put a touch of tamarind. Here we put touches of ginger. We put touches of peanuts. We put cilantro. We put baby flowers of cilantro, of rosemary. Ladies and gentlemen, coconut steam band using methicellulose and helping us to achieve a bread-like texture. And this is very much the essence of the cooking we do. I do believe that, I grew up in a family of 4 kids. And I love my brothers, but sometimes I wish I only was one. So I will get all the attention. But sometimes that's not possible, so we were 4. And we get 25% of the attention. In cooking, I'm almost trying to raise a family that actually is many sons. But every time I do an ingredient, I try to do the ingredient very focused, not trying to bring many other brothers and sisters. So they really feel love. And they all really feel like I'm giving them my time and I'm listening to them. And by establishing this conversation, we are able to understand what the products are telling us. So, I'm sorry. I feel very like a passionate father with my children. So many of the ingredients, we don't use many ingredients, usually. At Minibar, we have 6 hits, 30 courses. Every time I give you a course, I want to make sure that you concentrate in a flavor profile. That doesn't mean that I don't have dishes that have 45 ingredients. You need to be pragmatic in life. But what you are seeing, the clementine, the strawberry, the coconut, you see are kind of almost one ingredient that is the king for the moment. Yeah? So we did the coconut. We use a foreign ingredient. Let's go with another. How many Greeks are here? Greeks from Greece. No Greeks from Thailand. Greeks from Greece. No Greeks? What's going on in Boston? It's Greeks everywhere. Okay, so this is no feta cheese. This is gonna be Parmesan. No? In Italian? We're gonna go to make a dish with feta. And here we're gonna be using another gel. In this case, we call it gellan. And gellan comes from the bacteria. We already talked about it. And with gellan, we are gonna be able to, you'll see, to also make a hot gelatin. We can bring the temperature of this gelatin almost to 90 Celsius degrees, which again is unbelievable. I mean, it's so unbelievable. When you go home, you should get Jell-O, put it in the microwave, press number 1, and see what happens. I need you, for you to understand that these hot gelatins are really a very cool thing. So the dish we're going to do is only to show you how gellan is going to allow us to make an a dish using feta and tomatoes, pure simplicity, pure flavor, but using a gelling agent for great benefit of an avant-garde dish, yeah? So, let's go. Feta ravioli and Turkish tomatoes. So here we have the brine of the feta, the one that everyone throws garbage. No way, Jose, we keep it. 100 grams of water and the brine. So here we have this beautiful yellow-like powder called gellam gum, very little quantity. And also we are some agar-agar. Again, we have a beautiful gelatin that we have to boil all the way to make sure everything incorporates. And take a look what we do. We put it in this beautiful tray. The tray was cold. We're gonna be putting out the excess of the liquid, of the gelatin out. And in the bottom of the tray, we have this very thin film of the feta cheese water. You see the circle? In the middle, we put feta that has been emulsified. We put a leaf of basil. And take a look what we do. We're able to make these raviolis with this very malleable-like structure jelly. And here we do this water, some orange juice, some sugar. This is kind of inspired in Turkey. I have a Turkish restaurant. We caramelize the tomatoes. We let them rest. We make sure they come to room temperature. And then we put the ravioli of the feta with the feta casing made with the gellan. We put the tomatoes. We put the syrup on top. We put the preserved lemon skin, touches of olive oil, a little bit more of the feta water. Ladies and gentlemen, feta ravioli and Turkish tomatoes. So, you know, it's many different kinds of gellan, but I think it's important you start being familiar with this name, yeah? It's different kinds of gellan, but as you can see, allows you to make a very clean cut. That's a very unique characteristic, that you can make very unique clean cuts, and allows you to make these very amazing films that allows you precisely to create the skins, to create ravioli like of any flavor. And someone is going to come to me and is going to tell me, but Jose, I want my traditional grandmother's ravioli. And I'll say, me too. But I don't want them 365 days of my life. That's what an avant-garde restaurant is. Is that clear? But I can tell you, that one is good. This one we have here is an example of another gelatin-like. What do you think this plate is? Oh man, you were there. Robert Parker, everyone knows Robert Parker? Oh yes, you have a winery? He's the great wine guru. He gives points to wines. The Wine Advocate is his magazine. It's the only magazine probably left in the world with no commercials, with no ads. Sorry, 0 ads. It's unbelievable. And he was coming to the restaurant, and I was freaking out because I was like, man, Robert Parker is coming. What do I do? Because everyone told me, make a menu with wine. I'm like, so wines and red apple, beef in Burgundy or in Bordeaux wine, fish with white wine reduction. Everything was killing the wine. You have the wine guy coming. I cannot give him dishes that the wine is dead by the time he eats that. You understand what I mean? So we were like for 3-4 months, like, oh my God. So I was a night at home with the Wine Advocate, and I began reading, right? And I began like, this great wine has a passion fruit aftertaste with minty afternotes, aromas of vanilla, because the oak that was used to enhance this great Chardonnay, you can find notes of lemongrass. And I was like, oh my God, I got it. So what I did was I got a wine, don't tell anyone, but from Alsace. I got a Gewürztraminer, was October. I got grapes. I smashed them with the skins, and I let them on the corner in the kitchen for 2-3 days until certain fermentation began. So I squeezed that fermented kind of grape juice, and I got the wine of Alsace, and I put them together. I add a little bit of gelatin to give somebody a little bit of body to the gelatin. I put it in a plate. And then with my sommeliers, I began creating different ingredients that you can eat in the white wines of the world. So you had vanilla for the wines, Chardonnays that have oak. Or I had grapes for the primary wines when they're very young and they have primary flavors. Or I had apples, or I had balsamic for kind of older kind of white wines that they have more presence. And I had passion fruit, and I had nutmeg, and I had pineapple, and I had lemon peel. And I put it around the plate, and he began eating one by one, experiencing passion fruit, experiencing vanilla, experiencing mint, experiencing, and eating the glass of white wine. So, ladies and gentlemen, the glass of white wine. Okay. All right. We spoke about, how much time we have? Well, I can be talking 3 hours, but I mean, do we have a time here? I'm happy. I don't need anywhere to go. I mean, we can go all out. So, what's the timing here?
Keep going.
Yeah, no, but I would like to have control of the situation. 8:30. I mean, I'm in total discontrol here. So we spoke about Yellen. We talk about espherification. You saw the formulation. Yeah? Who knows what espherification is? Many of you know by now. Who doesn't have a clue besides me? Good, you are in my team. Espherification comes from the word sphere. Is that correct? And I'm not going to get here very, man, I love for you to have your Barcelona shirt. Thank you very much for your support. It's the only soccer team in the world. Thank you. So when I saw you coming and you were kind of at the end, I went to them and told them, this man has to come in. So espherification is simple. Like, let's put it for a second now in liquids. And you can give the explanation of why, but if you get, let's say, olive oil, and you put a drop into water, really, you'll see that the droplet that is formed is almost like a sphere. It's this kind of thing that liquids into liquids create spheres. They are not rectangles, they are not pyramids, they are spheres. So a sphere is espherification. Because what you're going to see is going to be a perfect sphere. And we achieve espherification with what we call alginates, sodium alginates. And what this is, man, we're going to have carrots here tomorrow. You see? It's terrible. I mean, water has no presence, has no identity. What espherification is almost giving identity to the water, to the liquid. It's almost to give presence to the water itself. So we are able to achieve a very thin, T-H-I-N, thin film of almost its own water around the liquid itself. It's like if you are able to create an egg yolk of whatever you want. Very powerful. If I had a sphere of water right now, I will be holding it in my hand, and probably I will be able to pass it to you. What you're about to see is the espherification of an egg like where the egg tastes like Parmesan. And we don't achieve this because I feed Parmesan to my chickens every day. Is that clear? So, ladies and gentlemen, the egg, the cheese egg. Idiazabal cheese egg. Idiazabal, but can be Parmesan. Forget it. So here we get water and we have cheese. We put the cheese in the water. And we make, like if we were making tea, a tea of cheese. An infusion of cheese. We get all the liquid, all the water. There we have the water. We wait 2 hours and take a look what happens. The fat separates completely from the whey, you could say, from the liquid itself. So we get xanthan. We put gluconolactate, it's kind of a salt of calcium. We put egg white powder and we blend it. And what we do this is to take the air out, okay? Now the air is out. So we got the egg yolks, we put them in a big spoon, we put the Parmesan egg white, and we are gonna introduce it into this water bath that has alginate, a seaweed-like powder. We leave it there for a minute or two, and we are able right now to make a acidification of an egg. Inside this liquid, the egg yolk is raw, and now we're going to introduce it into the olive oil because the olive oil helps us to make sure that by osmosis we don't lose any of the flavor of the Parmesan water. We cook it now, 63 degrees during 17 minutes. And right now the egg is cooking. Forget about the egg. Bread. During the Civil War in Spain, we had nothing to eat. So bread became a big commodity. So this is called migas. Migas are breadcrumbs. We will eat sauté breadcrumbs with nothing sometimes. So here what you see is a traditional Civil War time Spanish dish, olive oil, a touch of garlic, and take a look how airy this bread is. We put the egg that inside breaks. I'm sorry because I'm not gonna be able to show it to you. We put the bread with the flavor of garlic, some chervil, and at the end we're gonna finish with a little bit of Parmesan with the cheese water and a little bit of a chicken reduction together. Ladies and gentlemen, pure minimalism, an egg with the flavor of cheese and bread. Lemon. Okay, 8:15. I want to show you something. Who likes chicken? And you like the breast or the leg? Who likes the breast? And who likes the leg? Great. I'm going to cook for you one without breast or leg. Meats are overrated. Yeah, and they're thinking, how do you put the weight? Soybeans can do this for you. Yeah. So, we're going to do this using agar-agar. Yeah, agar-agar elevated. Agar-agar. Agar-agar came from Asia. It's been used there forever. Take a look at what agar-agar, what's the power that gives us to achieve textures that if they are handled correctly, they're very delicate. With all these techniques I'm showing you, it's very important to have very big right hand and a lot of finesse. Any of these things without finesse, they're terrible. But a traditional French onion soup without finesse is terrible too. It's very important finesse in anything we do in life. And believe me, I'm a guy that with these big hands I have, it's very difficult to have finesse at all. That's why I'm very happy to have people that they have a way more finesse than I do. But it's very important with all these ingredients to have a lot of finesse. To put, every time, less gelatin. So when you put the gelatin in your mouth, only with the 37 Celsius degrees, it melts. You know what I mean? Finesse is key. And we spend a lot of time in trying to have finesse, to make sure that the gelatins are not any harder than what they have to be. Because they complain to us. Jose, you are making me way too hard. Why? I am very soft and gentle. No, it's important. If we don't listen to them, we treat them in a way that they are not happy. And when they are not happy in the way we treat them, we create dishes that are terrible. So it's not them, it's us. When you treat them with finesse, they're happy. And so the dishes we make are astonishing. Is that clear? So let me show you the chicken only with the skin. And some of the collagen of the sauce we made, that we got the bones of the chicken, and we roast them. We put carrots and onion, and we keep roasting. And then we add water, and we keep cooking for hours and hours, until at the end we got the reduction and all the collagen inside the bones of the chicken. So somehow, gelatin is here in more than one. So you're gonna see in the liquid, the sauce of the chicken bones, and you're gonna see agar-agar in the form of lemon. Let's go. Lemon chicken. And this could be a Chinese dish, perfectly. So here we have simple syrup and agar-agar. And we make sure we bring it to a boil so the agar-agar is really incorporated into the water, and we add lemon juice. Now we have a very flavorful lemon juice-like sauce. What's happening with the agar-agar is that take a look what give us the opportunity to do. We're gonna make these tiny droplets of the lemon agar-agar base. And as they cool down, the agar-agar is doing its job. And now the agar-agar has able to help us make these caviar-like balls of lemon. There we put the chicken demi-glace, the chicken sauce, with all the flavor of the chicken bones. And we warm it up. Agar-agar can be hot now. We can boil it almost up to 70, 80 degrees. There we put the caramelized skin of the chicken. We put on top the lemon peels with the touches of the sauce. And because in Spain we love rosemary and we roast the chicken with rosemary, we make an air with rosemary and rosemary flowers. Ladies and gentlemen, lemon chicken. So, who likes corn? Who likes corn on the cob? Man, you like everything, people. Few years ago, I became very engaged in trying to mess with American dishes. I was very afraid that I was going to lose my green card, but it didn't happen. I try always to pick a governor that is from a different party than the president, and so I'm protected. It's kind of weird. So 12 years ago, I did the New England clam chowder. Today, I cannot show it to you, even was a good idea, because it's almost 3 techniques using gels, but for next year. So I did the New England clam chowder, and the Boston Globe was not too happy, and they say, what immigrants are messing with our traditions? And I was thinking, man, just wait and see what I do with Thanksgiving turkey. So this is corn. Many years ago, I went to a farm in Pennsylvania. It's a co-op called Tuscarora Farm. And I was there with a friend called Nora Puyon. Nora Puyon is really a heroine. She's a great lady. She got the first ever 100% organic restaurant in America. Big round of applause for her. 100%, people. When you go to the bathroom, 100% everything. So Nora took me to that farm. Probably it was more. It was like, I've been here in 14, 15 years ago. And I met this Amish farmer called Daniel. He got 4 sons by the time I met him. When I met him now, he's 12 or 14. I mean, I don't remember their names anymore. And we see each other once in a while. And I was walking with him, and I saw zucchini flowers, squash flowers, that I told him I want them. And he said, you buy squash flowers, very interesting. And then baby corn. Baby corn, when I bought it from California, they would charge me $1.50, $2, $3 for a baby corn. And I was like, are you crazy? So the big one is 5 cents. And the baby one is $2.50? I don't get it. So anyway, guess what? I guess all the farmers communicate, even Amish farmers, because he was almost the same. Like, this is very unique product. I have to charge you $1.50, $2 per corn here. Like, but Daniel, you're selling them for 10 cents. Why are you giving me 10 cents the big one and $1.50 the little one? Because it's a very unique product. Okay, so I couldn't use it. So 2 years later was a big rain drought in Maryland, in Maryland, Pennsylvania, everywhere. So I got a phone call. Hey, Jose, Daniel says that he will sell them to you for 25 cents each. Like, let's go for it. So this was an homage somehow to corn on the cob that I've been almost 20 years of my life in America eating happily with my daughters every summer. Here we use 2 techniques. We use agar-agar and we use methyl cellulose. And again, forgive me, you're going to say, what do you mess with corn on the cob? Kind of I did this video myself. It's not of the same quality. And I didn't choose the music. So take a look, guys. Water and methicellulose, okay? Remember that with the methicellulose, we were able to make the bread like. So we have that water there, methicellulose and water. That said, we bring it to boil. There we have this gel-like texture. You see? Very transparent, very translucent, gel-like. So here we have fresh corn juice and agar-agar. We get corn and we use the corn. And we only get the essence water of the fresh corn. And we mix the agar-agar with the corn. And you see these tapioca kind of straws? Take a look what we do. We put the water of corn with the agar-agar into those tubes. Here we get baby corn. And the part that is delicious is the corn kernel. I don't want the inside. So there we have baby corn kernels. And we mix the corn kernels with the methyl cellulose water base. And we get a paper, and with the help of a spatula, we are able to do this kind of very thin film of corn, baby corn kernels. So we get the gelatin with agar-agar of pure corn flour. We put it inside and we roll it. And right there, we make a baby corn. And now is the amazing thing. The agar-agar can be hot and the methicellulose actually gels when you apply heat. We are able to caramelize it, Maillard reaction, and at the same time we are able to achieve a film gel in the outside and the agar-agar inside gets warm and tasty and beautiful. We make a fresh corn kind of polenta. We put a little bit of bacon, we put a little bit of touches of butter. Because there I was very close to Mexico, I put huitlacoche to bring the smokiness of the grill. We put corn nuts on top to intensify the crunchiness. Baby cilantro, a touch of lime. Ladies and gentlemen, corn on the cob. One more if we go. Haley. All right, so before we go to some questions, to me, to the cooking world, to the culinary world, I think to America, what Harvard has done, endorsing, making these classes happen, really thank you very much for making them happen, because I don't think we realize today the importance of what you guys have done. This trip here really with Ferran, when Oje Campas invited us to come. Thank you, Oje, for really making it happen. Big round of applause to Oje. Great. He was a crazy Catalan that had to call another crazy Catalan. Say, come to Harvard. And Ferran calls me and say, Jose, Harvard, what do you want over there? I said, I don't know, but these people in Boston, I'm telling you, man. So anyway, we came, and 2 years later, take a look what happened. So this is an important moment. And everyone probably has its personal satisfaction of doing this. I know what I get for me and my team. Spending good time with Harold McGee, who has been like more than a hero He's been like the father of many of us, a guy that was a light before there we knew was darkness. Very powerful, amazing man. I mean, if you don't have his book yet, I don't know why you're waiting. But to me, to be here at Harvard, to be here at Boston, from the times that I will come many years ago to MIT, to meet friends, to try to learn about how can I apply what happens in these universities to my restaurants, to my own culinary world. I believe here celebrating science and cooking, we are doing something so much more than spending a good time together and sharing knowledge and experiences. In my case, I really want to I want to go through the thought process of how everything we do in our lives is somehow indirectly or directly related to food. Everything we do. We have a huge obesity crisis. We have a huge malnutrition crisis. We have hunger crisis. I'm not talking about Haiti, guys. I'm talking about America. The environment sometimes is going down, only because the way we eat. This was Google Android saying, I approve. So I think this is a moment really to be thinking about always being pragmatic, but always trying to think how food can be empowering our communities, our cities, our country, to create jobs, to feed children better in the schools. I'm not going to be talking about politics, but there's a big thing happening in the Senate right now, in the Congress, called CNR, Children Nutrition Reenactment. This is a bill that very much, if it doesn't pass, children in America are going to go hungry because there's not going to be enough money to feed them at the schools. But our senators and congressmen, they don't care. We have a huge obesity pandemic. In 20 years, we're going to be spending 20% of our health bill is going to be trying to cover all the obesity issues. But today, our politicians don't do anything. I can keep going on and on and on about the different areas about food that if we handle them well, can empower so much more our world. In my case, I've been very involved with an organization called DC Central Kitchen in Washington, D.C. If you go to Washington, I invite you to visit a guy that was called Robert Egger, that 25 years ago thought that waste was wrong and got a little truck, got a little kitchen, and began going around restaurants and hotels and getting any leftovers of the foods that no one was using 25 years ago in the Reagan times when big hotel parties were happening and huge quantities of trays going to garbage. He began getting that, reusing them, and sending them into the community in the areas that people needed help. So I joined him like 18 years ago, and my life changed forever. Watching him and trying to help him, I became the chairman. Then they made me chairman emeritus when they couldn't handle me anymore. I mean, the emeritus thing is something very scary. So it's many organizations like this in this Central Kitchen, but this one is great. Empowers people, gives opportunity. We take people from the streets. We train them to be cooks. We find them jobs in the community. So we are creating opportunity at the same time that we are feeding people and trying to solve a problem. Amazing organization. But then I was thinking, man, how can I put my expertise, how I can keep giving back? And then when Haiti happened, I went there in March for 10, 12 days. And I took with me solar kitchens. I took 20 solar kitchens with me. And I didn't go there to feed people. I was very selfish. I went there to learn. I went there to learn. To learn about how my profession, as the cooks of the world, we can be part not only of feeding the 0.1% of America, but how we can be part of finding the solutions to feed the other 99% of the people of America. I think it's our destiny, not only to have these great restaurants with these amazing dishes, but it has to be our destiny too to try to fix the problems that food is part of the equation. If not 50, 100 years from now, we're going to look back and we're going to say, wow, we are responsible because we did nothing. So I think everyone in their profession, they need to be finding what can you do of your time to really help. So I'm going to show you a video of these solar kitchens. I kind of shot myself. Always I had some great Haitian guys that I will give them the flip camera and I will show them how, and then I kind of did it myself. So it's not very well done, the editing, but I want to show you 2 minutes what happened in Haiti. I'm going Monday, and I only want to make a moment of food for thought. This is what science can do for the world. If we are able to use these solar ovens, we will not need trees anymore. We will not need charcoal anymore. And then countries like Haiti, maybe they will have opportunity. A humanitarian crisis often disrupts. Crops and cooking utensils are destroyed, a family's income stream is disrupted. Imported food aid can negatively affect the local agriculture economy. World Central Kitchen brings hope to communities by cooking for and feeding vulnerable people. So, to finish, I'm going back Monday for 5-6 days. We identify already an orphanage of 10,000 kids, and then a factory in the frontier with Dominican Republic with 6,000 employees. I'm partnering with Dr. Mohamed Yunus, trying to bring social business. If you don't know enough about social business, I think it's worth reading his books. Because, you know, there's no other country in the world that has more nonprofits. But probably is not a country that has more problems. So giving for free has to be something of the past. We cannot throw money at the problem. We need to start investing into the solutions. So what I'm trying to do there is bring solar kitchens, but not only solar kitchens. Clinton Foundation, President Clinton has a stove called the Lucia stove, which is an amazing stove that uses briquettes of organic matter that you can use for cooking, and they're on paper very cheap. So it's many people trying to find solutions. So what I'm trying to become is a soldier right there, because we have great technology, but no one seems to be putting that technology up and running. So my role, and what I'm trying to get is to create the spark, to create the flame, for people to start thinking that charcoal and cutting trees should be something of the past. And that's why I'm unbelievably interested in being here in Harvard, in meeting so many professors, in meeting so many deans, in meeting the president, the provost. Why? Because that's the place where many ideas happen. Many of the things always happen. In Boston, happens here in Cambridge, happens in this university. For me, this is an important moment. I saw it in Haiti, but we have many countries around the world. So Monday I'm going to try to identify the place. We're going to put the kitchen, and we're going to try to build a kitchen with over 60, 70 of those solar kitchens. If I'm able to show the world that we can be feeding people only using the sun, this could be a good beginning. So I only wanted to share that with you, not very much to put myself a medal, look at what I'm doing. I'm going in a very selfish way. I'm really going to learn. But I do believe that it's science, and that's what we are celebrating here today, is science. In this case, is science and cooking, is science and how to feed people can play an important role in a better world tomorrow. So that's my main motive. That's why I'm here today, in a very selfish way, to try to get that science that is in the brains of many of the people in this university with their knowledge to help feed people in the future in a sustainable way tomorrow. I'm Jose Andres. Thank you very much.
So we'll have time for a few questions, and Jose will answer them. And before everybody leaves, I remind you that he'll also sign books after the question and answers.
Yeah, but you don't have to. You don't have to buy them or me sign them.
have to
So
buy
don't
them.
worry. Don't feel pressure.
You don't have to ask questions, but you can ask questions. Do we have microphones?
Questions, yeah.
We have microphones. Somebody.
Please.
We don't have microphones.
Yeah, I can pass you my mic.
Hold on.
Thank you. When you're working on a recipe concept, as you sort of showed us, and we were wowed by it, and we'd love to follow. Where does the taste part come in? Are you tasting all along? I mean, I'm.
Yeah.
I thought that was from the raviolis, but so are you tasting constantly as well as inventing constantly?
I'm not gonna lie to you, but it's many things I don't have to taste because I know what they taste like. We're talking in the creation process. I'm not talking in the middle of service, then the dish comes back to the kitchen and the customer complains, this is not good and it's too salty. Probably the guest is right. Especially if I'm in the kitchen, everything has a tendency to be salty. I'm talking specifically you are asking me about the creative process. So yeah, the creative process can start many ways. For example, I went to meet Dale Chihuly in Seattle. Everyone knows Dale Chihuly, the great glass blower master, lives in Seattle. Amazing kind of work he does with blown glass. I don't know if you've seen what he did in Venice, Italy, what he's done at Central Park, what he's done in many places around the world. So I'm fascinated by the way he's able to mix art with nature, or with cities, So because I'm fascinated by him, I went to see him and I worked with him. And I spent 4 days in Seattle. And we cooked together and I made a menu inspiring him. And we created a dish that was an encapsulation of olive oil into a sugar shell that was almost recreating his work. I broke a tooth in the process of working with him. And in that moment that I broke the tooth, he began saying, blow, 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 and I didn't know what to do. So he gave me the glass that I made in a beautiful orange color, and you can see the tooth there. I mean, I told him, this is the most unique piece in the history of mankind. Here. So that was a way of getting inspiration. Working with these guys and reading, that's something I've been reading for a long time, but I never had a clue. But we've been reading about water surface tension. So here is science. And what people are doing here, and people are doing at MIT, and people are doing in Japan, and then understanding water surface tension. And learning about surfactants that can break down the tension in the water. So, wow, if I'm able to learn everything, one day I know I'm gonna be able to make a dish. So we're working with scientists. We invite them for dinner because we cannot afford them, so, you know. Science, the arts. I'm opening a Chinese restaurant mixed with Mexican. This is history. Philip II, in the mid-16th century, he created a boat, he opened a new route uniting Acapulco with Manila. So it was uniting Asia with Philippines, Philippines with Mexico, and Mexico with Spain. This was called the Spanish Galleon. during almost 250 years, products were being exchanged between Europe, America, and Asia, and almost we don't know about it. Peppers arrived to Sichuan in that moment. Dresses and silk arrived to Europe in that moment. We think that everything happened through the Marco Polo route. No. So I'm opening almost a restaurant that indirectly is telling that story that we don't know. So you see, inspiration here is history. Inspiration before was science. Inspiration before was I go to Whole Foods often. And my daughters, my daughters are very, very wise. Because when they want anything, like sodas and things like, they're like, Daddy, let's buy the soda. Let's do research. Every time a fast food company tests a new ingredient, a new product, my daughters, they send me a text message, Daddy, Burger King has a new chicken that says it's fried, but they don't fry it, but tastes like fry. Let's do research. My daughter, she's 11. You see what I mean? For a cotton candy machine, a great American invention. I cannot believe people call it junk food. Many people. It's the most amazing form of caramelization ever invented. If I could put cotton candy in my tea instead of sugar, it would be so much better. You put sugar, you need a spoon, and you have to stir, clink, for half an hour until the sugar melts. You put the sugar floss, you put the sugar candy, you let it drop, the tea is being sugarized. Okay? So that cotton candy machine, one day we were like, okay, why the cotton candy machines don't have temperature? Why the cotton candy machines don't have revolution control? Why we are able to increase or decrease the temperature, and what if we are able to increase or decrease the revolutions? And we only use the sugar that we know. But what if we use the other huge quantity of different sugars that are available and we start testing them? I've been doing it, but every time I break one, so it's becoming very costly. You see what I mean? So the moments of creation are very much endless. What is very important that you are not crazy in trying to tackle everyone. You need to be very focused and know your limitations and go through the process. But that's what we do. We are always looking. You come to my office, the Think Food tank, and the wall is full of ideas. That some of them are being developed, some of them are on hold, some of them they get nowhere, but that doesn't mean we break them. We put them aside. Because maybe 3 years later, boom. Yeah?
I wanted to know in your recipe with the feta ravioli and the Turkish tomato, what do you use? Gelen plus agar-agar? Why do you use both?
Oh, man. Oof. Yeah, the Turkish tomato. And I don't understand English. Beautiful accent. Right. No, at the end is many things, Probably if you ask him, he will give you a formula there to explain it. And
on Thursday.
On Thursday.
You have to be there.
I'll be there. Because everything has an answer. For us, the chefs, in this case, it's more empirical, it's more test, error, no error. So many of these gelatins, I've used certain ones because are the ones we believe are able to give us the best results. But it's only because we test, and we understand a little bit about each one of them. And out of tests, we are able to come up with what we think are the best recipes. But we always get surprised by the friend that goes, and one day we go to his restaurant, and he's doing something different, and we ask, how are you doing this? Like, I'm doing this that way, and that way. And it's completely different of the way we were doing it. So in our case, it's a lot of kind of try and error kind of approach. So anyway, anyone?
For addressing problems of malnutrition and hunger, besides equipment, is there technique or ingredients that you've come across?
Hunger in America?
No, more global hunger.
Well, one of the main problems, I mean, we don't have enough time to address it right now. The area I'm trying to be helpful is in cooking methods. So I have this amazing solar kitchen. They've been around for 60 years. What happened, people are very afraid of using them because they look like a UFO. You know, Star Trek came and they dropped something, a bomba. Yeah, even us. You know what they make our electric cook stoves orange? Because orange reminds us of the fire. If not, they wouldn't even be orange. Even us. That's why microwave is very nice, but we barely use it for heating milk and water and the leftover foods. But at least we are using it for that. So I'm very interested in the cooking stoves that are sustainable because charcoal is a huge problem. I have huge quantities of photos. In 2 weeks, we're going to have a big photo week in Washington that this year is dedicated to Haiti. And with 3 friends, we are doing this big kind of photo exposition, addressing precisely the charcoal issue. If they keep cutting trees, the problems are huge. Every time the rain comes. Yeah? Do you hear how many people die because the water slides through the mountains? Like it was a gigantic river with no end. Everything is a river, and the river takes with it houses, people, but also the water washes down the fertile soil. Wow, it's an endless issue. If they will have trees like breadfruit, that breadfruit was, you know, the Motiny of the Bounty of Captain Bligh. That was to bring breadfruit trees to the Caribbean. I don't mean that that was the right thing to do, but then anyway, the breadfruit are a good tree. They grow quick, and they produce a fruit in 3-4 years. They're producing huge amounts of fruits, and they are a great bread-like carbohydrate kind of fruit. So you know, it's many solutions. I'm very interested in the cook stoves, and I've been testing lately a pressure cooker. You know, pressure cookers that they are always stainless steel. So I've been painting one in black. It took me a month to paint it black because try to paint stainless steel, people. Has to be black because it's the only way it's effective. So at the end I achieved it, and I was able to boil 2 gallons of water in under 40 minutes only using the sun. So I'm taking a couple of these with me now on this trip because I want to test them there, even I know they work. And I already spoke to a Spanish company called Fagor, that they're going to be making for me like 30, 40, or 50 of those pressure cookers. If that works, what I know is that I'm able to give a more powerful tool to feed people. But then I need to make it happen. The talk is very beautiful, and I can talk. But me, I like to be more a man of action in this case, and that's why I'm going, to learn, to try to be part of the solution. Yeah? So hunger, it's a huge problem. But you saw the video. We believe that we do good when we give food for free. It was amazing because I spent a lot of time, 3-4 hours away from Port-au-Prince, and everyone was complaining that no one was buying from them because we gave so much food for free that the poor people working in the farms, their potatoes, their carrots, they were worth 0. So they stopped harvesting because if no one was buying, they said, let me feed my family. I don't care about the rest. So even when we gift, we need to start being more self-conscious about how we give, because not by giving, we put an end to a big problem. We need to invest. We need to stop giving, and we need to start investing. It's easy to say, it's difficult to achieve. But that's why I recommend everyone to read about Mohamed Yunus, Dr. Mohamed Yunus, on his social business, because this really could be a powerful way to start approaching there's so many issues we face.
Okay, so with that, let's thank Jose one more time.
Yeah.